For Plato's Socrates, happiness is what all people desire. It's the ultimate goal driving all our activities. But have you ever felt like the harder you try to get happy, the more it seems to slip away? It's like you're running after something, but the faster you run, the faster it gets away. And it's not just with happiness. It's the same with money, success, even looking a certain way physically. It's a universal struggle we can all relate to. Even a legendary character like Zuko from Avatar. The last airbender grappled with this paradox during his journey. Despite doing everything he thought would finally make him happy, regaining his honor, capturing the Avatar, he still felt this nagging emptiness inside. And why is that? In this video, we're going to dive deep into Zuko's journey and explore how his character arc beautifully illustrates the freedom that comes with no longer placing happiness on a pedestal.
What happy am I comparing myself to? If whatever your current state is, if you just say like happier, which is really when people are like, I want to be happy, they're just saying I want to be happier than I am, which means that you create this distance between where you are and where you want to be, which is the recipe for being unhappy, is saying that I want to be happier. So it doesn't matter how happy you are, you want to be happier.
One of the biggest traps we fall into is the trap of comparison. You see, we've been conditioned to believe that happiness is this ultimate, perpetual state of bliss and ecstasy, a constant high that we must attain and maintain at all costs. But the reality is, that's an illusion, an idealized version of happiness that simply doesn't exist in the real world. It's a fantasy we compare our current emotional state to, and in doing so, we create a toxic cycle of dissatisfaction. Let's look at Zuko's journey for a prime example of this trap. From a young age, he lived in the immense shadow of his ruthlessly powerful father and prodigious sister Azula. No matter how hard he tried, he never measured up to their expectations and the idealized version of himself they demanded. Constantly comparing himself to this unattainable standard slowly chipped away at Zuko's self-worth and happiness. The distance between who he was and who he should be according to his father's expectations bred resentment, anger, and ultimately misery. And sadly, Zuko's plight is one we can all relate to on some level. Whether it's comparing our bodies to photoshopped ideals, our careers to our high-achieving friends, or our relationship status to societal pressures, we're all guilty of this trap. By asking ourselves that question, we unveil the illusion. We realize that the happiness we're torturing ourselves to attain is merely a construct. Well, as counterintuitive as it may seem, letting go of that relentless need to be happy is actually the key to finding genuine joy and contentment. You see, when we cling so tightly to the idea of being happy all the time, we put immense pressure on ourselves. Take Zuko, for example. After years of being rejected by his father and obsessively chasing after his honor, he finally achieved his goal of returning home. But was he truly happy in that moment? His face said it all. The emptiness, the dissatisfaction. Why? Because Zuko had spent so long defining happiness as regaining his father's acceptance that when he finally got it, it didn't fulfill him the way he thought it would. He realized the thing he desperately wanted wasn't the source of true happiness after all.
By relinquishing the desire to be happy, I ended up enjoying a lot more of the stuff that I was doing.
It wasn't until Zuko let go of that need to chase an idealized version of happiness that he was able to find peace and appreciate the present moment for what it was. His transformation began when he joined Team Avatar and started accepting himself, flaws and all. Here you can see the weights lifted off Zuko's shoulders. He's no longer carrying around the burden of having to be perpetually happy or living up to someone else's standards. And that's the secret. When we relinquish this notion that we must be happy at all times, we open ourselves up to experience all the beauty life has to offer, in its full spectrum.
Became a pleasant surprise. I was like, oh, this doesn't suck.
To kick things off, let's look at a specific moment in the episode, The Fire-Bending Masters. This is when Zuko and Aang were on a quest to learn the true meaning of firebending. The journey is filled with uncertainty and doubt, especially for Zuko, who is grappling with his inner turmoil. However, there's a turning point when Zuko realizes that his firebending doesn't have to be fueled by anger and hatred. This moment is a perfect example of how happiness can emerge unexpectedly when we shift our focus from chasing it as an end goal to simply engaging fully in the journey. Zuko's happiness isn't found in reaching a specific destination. Instead, it blossoms as a byproduct of his growth and self-acceptance. Throughout his redemption arc, Zuko learns to accept his path and make peace with his past. A pivotal moment in this arc is seen in the episode The Day of Black Sun, where Zuko confronts his father, Fire Lord Ozai. This confrontation is not just a physical battle, but a symbolic severing of his ties to a painful past. Zuko's decision to leave behind the toxic expectations of his family and embrace his own values is a significant step in his journey towards inner peace. This act of defiance and self-realization allows Zuko to reclaim his identity and chart a new course, one that aligns with his true self. Zuko's story is a powerful reminder that joy often comes from unexpected moments when we stop chasing happiness. Consider the episode The Western Air Temple, where Zuko, after many failed attempts, finally gains the trust of Aang and his friends. This moment is filled with relief and happiness, not because Zuko set out to be happy, but because he focused on doing what was right and being true to himself. The friendships he forms and the respect he earns are byproducts of his authentic journey. No more chasing happiness, just appreciating the richness of wherever life's journey takes us. Drop a comment and let me know your biggest takeaway.